Welcome to Beers with Contractors. We're cracking a cold one and taking a deep dive into the foundations of your business, pun intended, to unearth the strategies, techniques, and insider knowledge that can take your contracting business to the next level. So, grab your favorite beer, pull up a seat, and let's have a chat about the nuts and bolts of the construction industry.
Dylan, we are back. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good.
You know, if you think about it, we are 5 minutes early today to our podcast.
It's 4:08 p.m., and I thought this was supposed to start 8 minutes ago.
Yeah, but we always start 15 minutes late. My clock says 4:10.
Oh, I don't know. You're on Apple time. Apparently, Apple is 2 minutes ahead of Microsoft.
So Windows and Apple people, that'll be the big... Actually, you know what? If anybody's listening, I'm an Apple guy. Dylan's a PC guy, so maybe you guys can throw hate to Dylan in the comments section. Actually, I know what's going to happen. Are Apple people, are they pretentious, like societally?
I think they used to be pretentious, but then Apple got so big that everyone expects you to have an Apple. You know, and I have an iPhone, so it's like I'm not the weirdo that has the green text come up.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, so it used to be pretentious, but now it's so widespread, you're kind of the weirdo if you don't have Apple.
Yeah, well, I got my iPhone, but I'm talking about like having a MacBook.
Yeah. I actually do have a MacBook at home, but my work laptop is PC.
Yeah. Does that make me snooty? Because I got a Mac?
You're just snooty as it is.
Honestly, I was even bitching about Mac today because I got a new monitor and the resolution wasn't working and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, for our listeners out there, Will upgraded today. So he took his dinky little monitor that he had plugged into his MacBook. And how would you describe this?
The new monitor? It is all-encompassing. I feel like I'm a gamer. It's a curved 34-inch monitor, and it's like immersive. It's a little weird, but I dig it. It's cool. I like it. I can barely see our guests today because the damn monitor's in the way.
Yeah, it was funny when you plugged it in. You had like a minor freak out because you hadn't adjusted the settings yet. And so you plugged it in, and everything was like a little granulated, and it didn't look good. And you're like, "Wow, what did I just pay for here?"
Yeah, that's what I felt like. But yeah, it's all good now. Like we're good. So, all right, what do you have for us today, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a big part of businesses is contracts. You know, and the way that we spend money, the way that we sign up a contract with a customer, and obviously has a massive impact on contractors out there. And I know you have a little bit of experience here because you've signed a few contracts. You've delivered a few contracts in your sales life as well. Let's break down a contract.
Yeah, and we should have some like sound effect, like contracts, dum dum dum, that goes over top of it because, you know, nobody likes talking about contracts, and it's a complex topic. I mean, hell, we're executing over 60 contracts a week in our company right now, and you kind of have to have your ass covered a little bit, but that goes both ways. We forget that contract is a two-way street. So when I talk to contractors, and we had a great mastermind meeting last November about this. We had an attorney coming in, and actually I should mention I am not an attorney, so what I'm saying is just from my experience and what I've learned from other attorneys, specifically around contracts. But one of the most simplest views, Matt Jones, which we probably mentioned in one of our podcasts, great representative, an attorney of mine, really summarizes it down to terms, acceptance, and consideration. Any contract, if it has those three things in them, you have a contract with another person or an organization. Now, here's where it goes crazy. Even if it's verbal, that can still be considered a contract. And we hear it in construction all the time, like, you know, I never signed a contract, or they never gave me a contract. Well, technically, if you dig deep enough, if there were terms like I'm going to paint your room for $1,200, and then you had some questions, i.e. considerations around that to get clarity, and then there was acceptance of that through a handshake, voila, you have a contract, which ran counter to what I thought. I thought we always had to have something in writing. And that's one of those crazy things that when you start to think about it, I had to turn around, and I would stress to, you know, our 5 listeners, if you have salespeople or estimators and they are engaging with your customers over text messages or even verbal conversations, they could be changing your contracts without you knowing and could get you in a lot of hot water. So, man, we beat ourselves to death over this about change orders. Like a change order is a total adjustment to the original, terms, acceptance, and consideration. So you have to be aware of that. And most people don't realize that's all you need for a contract. I mean, did you know that?
No, I thought it. When I think of contracts, I think of like 20-page documents and 17 sections that you don't read everything, and it's kind of like the button that pops up on a software, and you're like, you've read the terms and conditions and sign here. But yeah, that's really simple just to think in 3 categories: terms, conditions, or terms, acceptance, and consideration. That's it. That's awesome.
Yeah, but also, it goes even deeper, and it actually simplifies a little bit. So I used to have customers, I'm in the residential world, initial every page of our contract. Honestly, if everything is laid out on the first page and very clearly with your price, an understanding of saying, hey, you got to flip to page 3 to understand what is listed under this line item. You have those listed underneath of an area to sign, has to be signed by both parties, which a lot of people don't realize. And then that's where it gets down to the consideration aspect of hey, what happens in the event of a change order? That you only really have to have a signature on the first page and voila, you're done. But it goes even deeper because when I learned about this more, you're kind of having to protect yourself from 2 different people. And when I say protect, I don't like to address contracts. It's just hey, here's something documented that we both agree on these exact terms, the terms, acceptance, and conditions. We have documented it. But there's some certain things that I realize, sometimes you got to write it to protect yourself from some other attorney who can really go down into the nit and gritty and twist your words around.
Do you have an example of that in terms of something that could be twisted that's inside of a contract?
Yeah, so actually through Matt's guidance, thanks Matt, if you're listening, we need to have Matt on because he is just so well spoken. So we had to change one thing, talking about negligence. In the event of negligence, these are what's going to happen. It was back in my warranty page. Well, negligence can be described in so many different ways to so many people. So we actually changed it to gross negligence. I think we talked about this example of if you just have negligence on there and you miss the concrete truck that was delivering concrete to the house, you can be well, they didn't call me. And they're well, you were negligent because you weren't here to accept the order. And then they tore up the yard driving into it. You were negligent. Gross negligence would be they wiped out the mailbox and, tore up the gutters and tore up the yard and even, kicked the dog. That's gross negligence. So it kind of puts it to an extreme. And then another one is it's surprising how many contracts I see do not have their state mandated right to cancel parameters on the last page, specific to residential. And every state's a little different, but, consumers have the right to cancel a project. And I hated a lot of this was derived from the old door-to-door sales days, but it was meant to prevent people from being cornered when they maybe have some buyer's remorse. I think you've heard me talk about this, ours is 3 days, but Maryland, it's 7 days, and I think it goes up to 14 days if you're over the age of 64 or something. Don't hold me to that, but that state takes it to a whole other level. Which, talk about embarrassing when you have to ask a customer, how old are you? Because that dictates a certain part of the right to cancel. So that would be something that helps with the consideration aspect or the terms. Hey, the state tells me that I have to go over this with you, that you can cancel your project and not be held, liable if you decide to cancel within 3, i.e. business days, which each state looks at your business days differently. Some look at Monday, Friday. Many of them look at it Monday through Saturday. We are in a state, you probably noticed this, Sunday, you can't go buy a car on Sunday. So the state views Sunday as a non-business day. But other states, they do Monday through Friday. So Saturday is considered a business day in that 3-day right to cancel. Did I go down a rabbit hole?
You did. I love it. I actually have one more question. I'm excited to bring our guest on really soon. But I have one more question about contracts because on the flip side of things, so let's say you go out, you fulfill your side of the contract as a contractor. You've gone and done the work, you provided the goods and services, and then they won't pay. What do you do?
Well, so those just go in your terms, and we have them, and I'm not ashamed to share my contract terms, but number one, payment is due upon completion. And then anything over 30 days, I think it's 0.33% interest per annum that's added to that bill, and we just start tacking it up. But then there is eventually a trigger that says, hey, if it's not done by X amount of time, and this is perfect, I'm glad you brought this up. If it's not done by this amount of time, we're putting a mechanical lien on the property. And this is where most contractors actually undo their original contract because the customer's unhappy and they say, well, no, you're not done. I need you to fix these 3 things. Well, those 3 things aren't on our contract. So we now have opened up a new contract. And it's okay to say that to people, to be like, hey, by the way, I understand your concerns. We will address those. Just based on our original contract, that's not here. So I need to make sure this is fulfilled first, and then we will create another contract, a change order, a service ticket, whatever. A service ticket can be a contract. And then now we have a clean slate to work off of. And I have used that. It's great ways to diffuse escalated or upset customers because it shows, hey, I'm trying to protect you as well. So I want to make sure that we are crystal clear on it because no homeowner wants to have ongoing disagreements. I'm sure there's plenty of people on social media that say there's tons of crooks out there, but I think that's a very, very, very small margin. And when it comes down to it, it's just we're not good at communicating clearly what that is. And I would even say estimating teams or salespeople, they don't understand those aspects either. So, man, I think we just lost 3 listeners now. We're just talking about this.
Contracts is not the thing you want to hear about, but it's also not the thing you want to get burned by.
Dude, I love it. It's one of the coolest topics.
You got a lawyer in your next life here.
Yeah, well, I love it when a lawyer tells me about it. He's not charging me for it. Sorry, Matt, but we'll give Matt Jones credit. But anyway, so yeah, guest today, pretty cool. And dude, our guest today has brought more swag than any other guest we've ever had. So hint, hint, past guests.
And future ones.
So yeah, our guest today has worked over 20 years of experience in so many diverse fields. This is pretty cool, including in a medical field, is now currently a construction account manager at GFL Environmental. Didn't know what that was until like 6 months ago. And I just thought it was a dumpster company, but no, it's pretty cool. That's the number 4 waste management and trash company in the U.S. Nicole, she oversees the sales and service of waste and recycling solutions for the construction industry and is also in the top 10% of sales reps at GFL. That's nationally.
Right on.
And then also, and the resume keeps going, check this out, also on the board of the National Association of Women in Construction. Some of you guys know that as NAWIC, and is also the director of that in the Oklahoma City chapter. And she's here to talk some trash today. So Nicole, welcome to Beers with Contractors.
Thank you for having me.
And she leveled up big time. We've got swag. I got it behind me in my chair.
Yeah, I hope the camera picks this up. We got a little GFL sponsor here today.
Pencils. I got my church key, my bottle opener.
Yeah, for any of you listeners out there, Will refers to bottle openers as church keys. And I guess that's a thing out east.
No, it's a real thing.
Oh, it's a real thing. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm uneducated in church keys. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you, guys.
Let's take a step back. Medical to trash. What the hell happened, Nicole?
So I have these hobbies, and those hobbies include, buying a house and being like, oh, well, I don't like the floor and I don't like the paint and these light fixtures have to go. So I just kind of, once I moved to the city, I'd buy a house and fix it up and, move on to the next one. And so that's kind of how I got my hat in the construction industry. I kind of use that loosely because it was just me doing a little DIY work at home. And so COVID came around and the medical field was not sustainable anymore for my role in my field. And so
and what was that role?
So I worked for a medical device company doing robotic joint replacement. And interesting, the transitions I made over the years.
What's it like to replace a joint on a robot?
It's a fun time, saws and hammers. It's kind of like working in the construction industry, to be real honest.
Well, no, that's a really good analogy, though, because it is the medical field. Anything that's like reconstructive is literally construction is in the word. So
hammers, drills, all of the things. It's interesting,
So we see so many people that do this that were in one industry, and you get to see this through our involvement with the camp, which we get to here in a few episodes. Super pumped for that. But that got into construction and just came from totally different sectors of the market. So, like, what has that transition been like? Were you like, what the hell am I doing? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you're pretty passionate about it.
Well, whenever I first left the medical field, I was wildly scared because I'd never done anything else. That's what I had done, and I'd been in an OR for the last 6 years, of my career in the medical industry. And so, it's all the same 4 walls and no outdoor light. And all of those things all day of my life. And when this position came along, I was like, okay, I'm just going to embrace this. I was super excited to do something different that wasn't my norm. I love learning new things. I mean, I'm a self-taught YouTuber to do all the things like change lights and lay floors. And so I was very excited to tackle this new thing. And I always tell everybody I went from the sterile field to the landfill. So, that's one of the things whenever they ask me, well, how long have you been doing this? Well, not that long, actually, coming up on 3 years, but it's been a great transition. My work-life balance is a lot better. I get to be outside all day and, I'm on construction sites. It's a new view every 20 to 30 minutes as I drive down the road and, cold call on people and do all of the things. And so it's wonderful. I love it. I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. I wish I had done it sooner.
Wow. I think you just synthesized, like you just simplified why a lot of people leave their day jobs or their cubicle life and come into construction, because it is, I mean, you get to move around, you get new environments, you get to see things as they transform, our society, and you just, it's really fulfilling. Plus the work-life balance can be really good, depending on, what your position is. So you have a new perspective to GFL and to environmental solutions and waste management. With any sort of contracting work, there's always more than what meets the eye, right? For like air conditioning, that we have cold air right now, but there's a lot of stuff in the walls and that happens to make that happen, right? What are the things that you discover that you had no idea about in the field, or that's maybe like in the hidden side of waste management?
There's a lot of things behind the scenes that go on that you don't even think about, just even with your daily trash pickup or your weekly trash pickup from your service provider. It's a lot. These drivers come in early at the crack of dawn, and we have our own landfill here in Oklahoma City, so we have someone that manages that side of the business for us as well. And so there are a lot of aspects. And then whenever you get into the recycling side of things, then you've got a whole nother animal to deal with. And so there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes of just me showing up, selling you a dumpster, us getting it out there. I mean, it's a lot. Then, you got truck maintenance and, all of the things. Your dumpsters get holes in them. Sometimes they even catch on fire. Sometimes we literally have dumpster fires, okay? So it's just, there's a lot that goes on that people, they're like, throw it in the trash. And I honestly am surprised sometimes while I say that. People get real riled up about their trash service. Like, you would think it's just trash. Like, what are you so stressed out about? But that's one funny thing that you just don't expect, is people to be so mad about trash.
I know. That's so crazy. So, I mean, obviously, I hate to say it, we're a wasteful society, I think, in a way. So this market is increasing dramatically. And aside from the great branding, because the bright green dumpsters and things like that, but, green and trash, they don't go together. So how is GFL doing it differently than everybody else?
So GFL is very focused on doing the things that are good for our environment, recycling and doing all those things. So at our landfill, we are one of the only landfills in Oklahoma City that can certify all aspects of recycling off of a construction site. So like whenever you need, so from your wood to your concrete to your metal to your gypsum board. So that's the big one for us, because we're the only one in Oklahoma City that we can do that at our landfill, is recycle it. And so I don't know if you guys have heard of LEED. If you've been on my LinkedIn, you've seen me talk about LEED projects and all of that. And so LEED projects are recycling projects. And so to do a LEED project, you have to go through all these processes to get your certification so that you can name it a LEED project. And so that is one way we help the construction sites gain their certification, is we're able to help them with that process and get them all their certification points.
Yeah, and it's what I love how LEED programs go from that. I didn't realize until you said that it goes all the way to that level, because we were LEED certified in North Carolina with my family's construction company, but this was 15 years ago, and we thought it was pretty, and it's great for housing in the environment and also energy consumption. But I didn't realize that it went to that level now. So I've been out of that game for a while, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Just, can we dive a little bit into that?
I will tell you, I'm not fully an expert yet. I'm actually doing online training right now to become LEED certified. So I'm learning a lot more about it. And so it's a process. It's a deep dive.
Does a company have to do all of their projects like that? It's just kind of pick and choose.
If there's a project out there that they want, let's say the owner of the building that they're building, they want this to be a very green project. This is real big in California, especially, so it's kind of coming this way. And which we're a Canadian-based company, and recycling is huge in Canada also. And so that's kind of where this comes from. We're trying to follow in their footsteps in Canada a lot, more closely, because they're very, very focused on it there. So each project, it's up to them. So, if they want to have their project LEED certified, they go through the process. So they fill out the application, and then as they submit, they have to so it goes to a certification board, and they look at it and review it and make sure it hits all the marks, and then they'll get awarded their level. So there's like different levels. It goes all the way up to gold or maybe platinum. I can't remember all the different levels. So it's by choice. If they want to do it, great. If they don't, great. It's a lot of work when they do it, because it's either they sort it on site, which means you've got 5 dumpsters setting out there, and everybody's got to follow the sign on the dumpster and put it away, put their trash in the right spot. And so it's got to be broke down, or they can pay extra to have us sort it, which is a whole nother animal that they don't. I mean, I think a lot of them here in Oklahoma, they're just now dipping their toe into this LEED stuff, and they kind of see how much it is to have that done. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, but in the markets that have that, they're tremendous value adds for builders, commercial and residential.
And which, more green places than Oklahoma, like California, like they're very much set up for the capability to do those things. Where here, it's, we're just getting this started here in Oklahoma. It's very rare to see a LEED project still at this point here.
Well, we had a case study, gosh, this was probably in 2009, perfect time to build a house, by the way, where we actually created a LEED house, but we were actually able to do it through, and love you, Dad, if you're listening, my father, Randy Blake, still owns this construction company in North Carolina. We actually did it for 25% less in cost, because it was just more about efficiencies. So when you hear about LEED, it's not just like, oh, it's going to be more expensive, it's overregulated, it's all that. Like, there's some really cool ways where you can create. Boy, is this entire episode going to be about LEED now? Did I just sidetrack us, Dillon?
It's okay. LEED, I think this is, I imagine there's a lot of opportunity here.
There's so many aspects to LEED. It's not just the trash side of it. It's like you're getting ready to say, the building.
Well, and yeah, so it's really cool. And yeah, I need to have my dad on every once in a while. He used to have an AM radio station show every Saturday until he let a few 4-letter words slip, and I think he got kicked out. But now he does. By the way, All About Home Construction is his podcast. Saw him the other day ranked 7 in construction podcasts. They're like in 200 episodes. So anyway, so hold on. Let me bring it front and center back to GFL, Nicole. So, specifically around this, like the sorting process, what the hell does that even look like? That sounds like the dirtiest of dirty jobs.
I will tell you, we haven't specifically done one of those projects during my time there where we do it. Primarily, we let them do it on site. They have their metal container, they have their concrete dumpsters or whatever we're going to be recycling, and then we take it of the landfill and we process it, so the concrete has its special place at the landfill where it's got to be clean, no rebar, all of those things. So, yeah.
Outside of LEED or kind of recycling, obviously every contractor is going to produce waste. When I did electrical, we were always known as like just leaving our wire clippings everywhere on the floor, and everyone hated us.
Electricians are the worst, bro.
We kind of owned it,
There's a reason you're the only electrician that's ever been on this show.
So yeah, every contractor is going to produce waste, and you need to do something about that. So like, what are some of the things that contractors need to consider in terms of like responding to that, and where GFL would step in?
Just throw it away. Call me. I'll get you a dumpster. You throw it away. And whenever you're ready for me to take care of it, we can swap it. We can pick it up. Whatever you need to do. I mean, it's really, when it comes to trash, it's just trash. Just throw it away. We'll take care of you. Don't overload your dumpster, though, because then that, makes my drivers unhappy, all of those things. Those are our daily grievances that we have. Hey, you've got too much stuff sticking out over the top. Like, we have regulations. There's only so much we can do hauling wise. Like, we'll get pulled over, and they love to set out at the landfill and like wait for us to come by and have some kind of violation, So those are our main things. But, It's just trash. It's really nothing to stress about.
That's great. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's just trash.
Well, hey, let's pivot, Nicole, because I love how involved you are. And yes, you mentioned LinkedIn, and we'll talk about this in the show. You need to follow Nicole on LinkedIn. Like, you are everywhere. It's nuts. But what you're doing also with NAWIC is just super cool. So let's take a deep dive into NAWIC because, I was introduced to NAWIC through our construction camp and have been massive supporters. But take me through the day in the life of the director of the local NAWIC chapter and what's the next big push for you guys out there? I'm sorry, gals, ladies.
Yeah, the women of construction. So I am on the board with the Women in Construction group here in Oklahoma City. I'm one of the directors, and so there are about 7 or 8 of us ladies that are on the board. The Women in Construction group is amazing, and right now in Oklahoma City, it is growing rapidly. I mean, we have set up a monthly luncheon that we do, and then this past month we added a monthly social, and so we get together and we have guest speakers at our luncheons, and our group is really taking off, and it is so wonderful to see all of these women come together of every aspect. I mean, you've got me, the trash lady. We've got people that sell mobile offices.
Me, the trash lady, not trashy lady. Isn't that funny? One letter can ruin the whole thing, right?
Ruin it completely. We have general contractors. We have project managers, superintendents. I mean, we have banking people who provide the loans. We have insurance. We have fire protection. I mean, you name it in the construction industry, there is a woman working, and she's at NAWIC right now, which is amazing. And of course, I love NAWIC because my girls are my own children, my own girls are, getting into the industry. My middle daughter is just started an electrical apprenticeship job, and she's excited about joining NAWIC and doing all the things, and just having the camaraderie of having a woman you can go to and be like, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with this. How do I deal with this on the job site? How do I, whatever. And then my oldest daughter, she's at OSU doing civil engineering with a minor in construction. And she interned with one of the big construction companies here last summer and during the school year. And, she's doing the thing. She is loving it also. And I mean, Mom may have had just a little impact on, hey, go ahead and do that construction stuff too, see what it's like. And so,
well, one thing I will say about the local chapter that I've seen here that I don't see in a lot of other places is there's an entrepreneurial drive at a lot of the members. It's not just like, well, the spouse of a builder is like there. And so it's you guys are a force to be reckoned with. And, that's a great question here is because you guys are boots on the ground right now. What, in your opinion, is really holding women back in the construction field? In your opinion, especially with your role in the world?
Well, I mean, just from watching my middle daughter, accept a job and go into it, like her big fear was, I'm going to be dealing with men all day. How are they going to accept me? How am I going to fit in and all of those things? And my role's a little different because I'm in sales and I just show up and I leave. I don't have to deal with them all day, every day. And so for me, it's a little bit different. But, just listening to the ladies talk about how they fit in at the company and, find their way and learn how to grow, which is why NAWIC is so great because they can come to each other and say, hey, I'm dealing with this issue. How did you navigate this? Or have you ever ran into this? And it is, I will say that working in the construction industry is getting better. The men are they've gotten to where they're very accepting of the women in the field. And don't get me wrong, there's still the time to time you run into that one that you're just like, wow, dude, really? And so, but, I think it's getting better. It's just dipping your toe in and just taking that chance to do something out of the norm, that's not, status quo for a woman to do. I think it's so rewarding, though, whenever you do it and take that challenge and, rock the boat a little bit. So.
Well, I'm glad you say rock the boat because it's also, number one, we've got job shortages in construction. It doesn't matter if it's garbage or, foundation repair. And we've got this massive pool of very talented individuals. And I think for any of those out there that have been involved or been keeping an ear to the ground of construction, you overheard a conversation today about the massive move of private equity coming into a lot of our spaces. I love the fact I didn't realize you guys are from Canada. In order to grow an organization, you need outside talent. You can promote people from within, but ultimately there is a need for outside talent. And we were in a meeting just a few months ago, and we were comparing financials with 10 other companies around the country. Top 3 out of 4 companies, profitability-wise, were ran by women. And I'm like, the Neanderthal, like, wonder why that, as like my ADHD brain kicked in and off I went. So, but no, so this is good. And, when we talk about this, this topic, so you are good because you're encouraging your daughters to get into it. What advice do you have to the gruff guy and I'm not saying the prejudice guy, but the gruff guy that's maybe like, man, do I need to look at hiring women for my field that just won't pull the trigger? What's the advice there?
Do it. I mean, let me just tell you something about women. We're like, get it done. Women are the ones that, run the household typically and, plan the meals, do all the things. And that's what we bring to the table in the construction industry. Like, I keep everybody in line at work. And I mean, my guys in the field, like, I know what's going on their job sites. I'll call them, hey, how you guys doing out there? You guys going to need swaps? Like, I know where everybody's at on their projects. And so, I kind of give them the nudge. And I think just women have that drive to just take care of business, get things done, and, move on with life. I just think hire the women. They want to work. Give them the opportunity. Let them give it a try. Let them prove you wrong, because they will.
I'm curious on a personal level, when you maybe had the conversation with your daughter that was going into the electrical field, did she have any hesitancy in terms of like, and again, I don't want to like sound sexist, but like the physical labor or anything like that? Because that's what most people's stereotypes go into, is like, oh, you can't do it. And I'm sure there's a contractor out there right now and saying, oh, well, the type of work I do, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. And what's so funny is in one of her interviews, because she had a few interviews before she accepted her current position, and, can you lift this? Can you lift 50 pounds? And she's like, yeah. But it's funny because my daughter, she was a college athlete, and like, she's very athletic and physical, and she's strong as, can be. And so it was funny, just like, she's like, Mom, that guy asked me if I could lift 50 pounds. And I was like, yeah, I mean, sis, I get it. Like, he's worried if you have the ability to, lug a roll of wire around. Like, they want to know that. I mean, and granted, they're not going to ask a guy that question probably, Yeah, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, it's in the delivery, and I'm going to view it optimistically. Like, as people start to age out of the industry, which is bad for job shortages, but it's good for call it the ethos, the culture of construction. It's like, Dylan, can you lift 50 pounds? Versus, Stacy, can you lift 50 pounds? It's the same words said 2 totally different ways. And, we're seeing that change. And we've had women working on our production crews. Got some great friends. We've talked about this at Baird Foundation Repair, a company I know really well in San Antonio, has a crew ran by women, and they level the playing field. Like, they get more reviews, more content, higher revenue numbers. And I'm like, really? And these are concrete folks. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, damn, this is cool for the future. Like, so.
That's one thing with the Women in Construction group. We're always doing things that are going to help us grow, help us get better. All of those key little things. I mean, we talked about tweaking our resumes. We've done all of the things to help women succeed. So that's our goal. We want them to go out there and dominate the world.
By the way, I've got a question here, but I just gave the biggest hypocrite stamp of the entire series on our podcast, where I was talking about, like, can you lift 50 pounds? Can you lift 50 pounds? And then I'm like, you got a crew of women, really? And then I just did the same damn thing. So, like, maybe I'm the guy that needs to age out.
Which, the funny thing, too, for our 5 listeners out there, a little update, Will had a snowboarding accident, and so he can't lift 50 pounds right now because his shoulder just had surgery a week ago.
That was before injury. Honestly, I just got to be able to lift a pin for a lot of people. That's really what they need. So let's pivot a little bit. Nicole, so what are some of the cool emerging trends and technologies that you're seeing shape the future of just garbage and trash?
That's amazing. I mean, it's trash. Will, there's not a lot you can really evolve, is there?
Well, no, I love this because you were talking about, like, you're bringing best practices from Canada and some of the more, I would say, progressive states. I don't mean that politically, but like the sorting aspects and all that, like, I never knew that existed. like 5 years ago, but now it's like happening. So how is that being done and utilized? And because it's going to be in our doorstep here soon enough where we reside in the U.S.
I mean, it's a learning process for us right now. I mean, we haven't had a lead project that's a full lead project yet. I mean, we have the capability to do it. It's just when it comes time, it's going to be a learning process for us actually to fully execute one here. I mean, we've done small lead projects where, hey, we're going to recycle the metal out of this building, or we're recycling this concrete. So we've done the little stuff. I haven't yet to have a full lead project yet where we recycle every aspect from the metal to the wood, concrete, gypsum, all of the things that can be recycled. And so whenever we cross that bridge, it's going to be exciting and fun. And I'm looking forward to it. That's part of the reason I'm going through the lead training so I can get certified. So I know all the aspects of for the contractor side of things to help them make sure they're getting everything check box, mark that box to get all the points. And so it's going to be an interesting time for sure whenever that full lead project comes along. I hope it's soon. I mean, I don't know of anything coming that's going to be a full lead project, but I've done just enough little partial ones that I'm like, okay, I need to be ready for this when it happens.
I know we're kind of coming a little bit to our close, but I have to think back to during COVID when society had like a growing appreciation for the kind of forgotten workers out there. And I remember there would be like, I drive down the street and I would see a Sonic sign that was thanking truckers. You're like, there's no reason that would happen any other day of the week. And trash is a similar way where it's like, it's just, it's a thankless job.
We kept trucking. And it is. You guys, my drivers are truly amazing. My world wouldn't exist without them. Like I couldn't do anything without them. They go above and beyond, and what they do in the field reflects to me. And so they're so great about making sure that they read the notes and do what is asked of them. If they need to call the contact, whatever, they're so good about always, doing those things. And they're the real MVP. Let's be serious. If I didn't have my drivers, we couldn't haul trash. And so I love them all. They're so awesome. Shout out to my green team. You guys are fantastic.
I got to ask you this question I heard. This is a growing trend. Tipping your trash truck driver. Should you do it or give a Christmas gift to your trash truck driver?
Oh, wow.
Have you heard about this?
I have not.
It's growing. Yeah. It's a legitimate question. People are like, do I give a Christmas gift or a tip?
I do my mailman. I guess I should my trash guy, too, that comes and picks up my weekly trash. I see him every Friday morning. So maybe I should give him a little Christmas gift also. My drivers would probably be like, heck yeah.
Yeah, no, they're not going to argue with it. No doubt. Yeah.
You know what? You're like that barista that like flips the screen around and says, tip me, even though all I did was pour a cup of coffee. Now you guilted me to thinking, damn.
I remember reading this at the end of 2023 that people were like, yeah, this is a growing thing where people are tipping or giving a Christmas gift.
So we've always got a good question at the end, but I don't want to get to that yet, Nicole. I want to hear, like, what's the crazy horror stories you have seen in the trash world? Because I can imagine, there's some icky, nasty stuff out there.
Luckily for me, I work in the construction side of things, and so we don't deal with a lot of that. I'm sure my front load commercial drivers have seen some things. I know they have. But for me, in the construction side of things, I will say the craziest thing is whenever my house flippers, so sometimes these guys will buy these houses sight unseen. So they have no idea what is going on the inside of them. And I think the craziest one, I had a guy that had a hoarder house that he bought sight unseen. And that sucker, he sent me pictures of it. I about died. It was full to the ceiling, y'all, of just miscellaneous trash, just junk. It was crazy. The backyard was full. We could barely find a place to put the dumpster. There was so much trash along the side of the house and everywhere. It was crazy. And then I just recently had another guy, we're actually swapping multiple dumpsters a day for him right now, that got a house that was just hoarded out. And so that's crazy.
Just this, I can smell the story.
All right. Ooh, yeah.
Because we found that in our world too, where we're working on houses and it's like newspaper stacked to the ceiling. Worst one for me, Dylan. Did I ever tell you about the story where in my early days working in dirt crawl spaces, I went into this neighborhood that was being bought up by an investment group to turn them into rental houses. And this was in Greensboro, North Carolina. And homeless people had been living under the houses and all the stuff that comes with that, including needles. Ugh, and I don't like knives and sharp things. That's one of my fears. It was creepy.
I think that's a pretty logical fear. Needles that are under the house. Well, I know we're coming to the end here, and this is a question we like to ask everyone, Nicole. We always end the episode. Will makes a lot of mistakes.
The patron saint of screw-ups.
Yeah, the patron saint of screw-ups, as he says. And inevitably, we can learn from another person's mistakes. So what's a mistake that you've made in your professional life that another person could learn from?
Going into the medical field. I mean, really and truly. I mean, I grew up in Western Oklahoma, and it was either you're farming or you're in the medical, or, construction really wasn't a thing you thought about, and so it was just what I thought I should do, and so if I had known about going into construction and doing something, a trade or something like that, it's what I would have done. I stand on my soapbox of bring back the trades all the time. It's my fight right now, just trying to get our workforce back up. And I mean, so many people in my age group, they went to college because it's what we were told to do. Go to college, go to college, go to college. And yeah, I would go back and redo that and not be paying college debt still.
Real quick, how do people get a hold of you? Because you're everywhere on social media.
The best way to get a hold of me is call me. My work cell's 405-652-2047. You can always find me on LinkedIn, Nicole Wilson. Email me, however. I mean, that's calling me. That's the best way.
Yeah, and also like NAWIC, because, you have available contact on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. It's funny, you checked MySpace.
I will say I had one back in the day. That's why I checked it. I mean, it's maybe still out there in the interweb.
I know. We got to figure out how to copy paste the certain HTML codes to get that animation with the sparkles. But also NAWIC, like where do folks go to follow that? Because you're posting.
Yeah. So, I mean, for sure, if you ever visit my LinkedIn page, there's always going to be a link to our NAWIC page. It's NAWIC. Ooh, you're putting me on the spot. OKC383. Some form or fashion of that will get you to our website, and you can click on events and see everything that we have coming up. And so we're always doing something, and you're always welcome to come and join us. So
yeah, in chapters across the country.
Yes, we are all over the U.S. We have another local chapter in Tulsa for the Oklahoma. So we've got both in Oklahoma, and lots of great things happening within NAWIC. So we're celebrating 69 years of NAWIC being a national thing this year.
Oh, I didn't know that. Holy smokes. That's cool.
Our annual conference is coming up. So,
well, Nicole, I have such a fun time every time we meet. You're pioneering such a big charge, but also you're just doing cool stuff and trash. And I love how you talk about it. It's like, yeah, we're going to talk trash. But also telling another kudos to Nicole is it's Beers with Contractors. And Nicole's been toting the vodka pretty well with us today. Like, she's a champ. Like, no, it's okay. We have a disclaimer at the end about drinking responsibly on our credit. Yeah, but I'm sitting here thinking, Dylan, we got to up our game, bro.
We can up the game, but we can't leave the beers.
Yeah. So back to that, can you lift 50 pounds? Can you drink 3 shots of vodka and still be coherent? No, I cannot. But Nicole can. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm pulling everybody's leg. But anyway, Nicole, thanks so much. To all those listening out there, we appreciate you guys. We have a ton of great content coming up in the next few weeks. Have another Q&A episode coming up. I know a lot of you guys have sent in questions, so go ahead and send those in because that's going to be coming up here in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, Dylan, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks out.
Yeah, so we're teeing that up. So appreciate you guys. I got to play my little YouTube gamer kid. If you are listening to this, either on Spotify or iTunes or YouTube, give us a like. Give us a rating, and even, if you want to talk trash to Dylan, feel free to put that in the comments. He appreciates that. Anyway, we're going to go now. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Beers with Contractors. We hope you enjoyed our chat as much as we did. Before we say our final goodbyes, a friendly reminder. Beers with Contractors encourages responsible drinking. If you choose to enjoy a beverage during our time together, please do so in moderation and only if you're of legal drinking age in your country or state. Furthermore, the advice and insights shared in this podcast are for informational purposes only. Always consult with professionals and experts in your field, and be sure to follow local laws and regulations regarding licensing and permits. We're here to help, entertain, and inspire, but your safety and compliance are important. So, as you head out into the world of construction and contracting, remember to build responsibly and make decisions that stand the test of time. Thanks for joining us today. We'll catch you on the next episode of Beers with Contractors. Until then, cheers to your success.